3-month progression update. Just before Christmas last year, a little over 2 months ago, I discovered that my wife had been cheating on me with an old boyfriend. They had planned for a romantic weekend together, which I ruined for them when I confronted her. This will be long. So as an update, I've mostly gone no contact with my STBX. I tried just communicating with her through my lawyer if we had a real reason to talk, but that made me feel like a child that was avoiding confrontation, even if that wasn't the case, and I decided to speak with her myself a few times. If you've been following the lengthy comment streams from my previous posts, you already know what was discussed, but I'll write everything here as if it's the first time I'm doing it. The STBX at first was all over the place with how she talked about Chris. 1 minute he was her soulmate and the one that got away, the next he was a predator that would not leave her alone. Our family and friends have all heard the truth by now, and most of them have taken my side on the matter. Given the details I provided in my lengthy FB post, there was little room to side with her anyhow. She's since moved into her parents for the time being, and I remained in my home. It was acquired many years before I even met her, so that's not even an issue divorce-wise. Strangely enough, Chris, the AP, decided to write me this huge harangue of a letter, for what reason God only knows. I got the impression from it that she must have dumped him in anger shortly after I gave her the boot, because it's laden with stuff like we were repairing our relationship when you stole her from me. I've loved her for X amount of years, so don't post stuff online about how I'm a cheat. It really made me see red, and I wanted to do the man some serious physical harm, but once again I saw reason. Life has been pretty lonely in this house since she and my stepdaughter moved. The stepdaughter's room is still empty, and I have to leave the door closed because seeing it empty always hurts me, and I can't bring myself to do anything with it yet. She has a father, and he's a good dad, and because of him I still see her once during the week. I take her for bike rides or we go grab something to eat together. I asked her once if she felt comfortable eating at my house, and the poor thing just started crying. She loves her grandparents but doesn't like living with them, so she's been spending more time with her father. Her old man has invited me over a couple times for a beer. We had a few conversations about our mutual ex and Chris. I think I mentioned in the comments on my last post, but he knew the entire time she was cheating on him. I see my son and my ex-wife a lot more now. One of my weekdays lines up with their schedule, so I'll stop in for dinner, and I've been keeping him an extra day for my weekends, and she will generally join us for dinner on Friday night. I've asked my son if he wants to talk about how he feels concerning my upcoming divorce, and he's not saying it so much, but he's hurting. The first couple of times he just got this far off stare and was like, I don't want to even think about her. And that he loved her and didn't expect her of all people to do this to him. And it really hit me when he said that. We always think about how someone's affair does to us, like it's an act of malice against us, but what she did to me, coming from him, hurt more than anything she could have ever done to me. I've discussed therapy with he and his mom, but he insists he's alright, and if he feels he can't handle it, he'll talk to us. He's a mature kid and I trust his judgment, usually pretty upfront with how he's doing. He and I actually for the first time in private discussed the divorce between his mother and I and the reasons behind it. I really didn't want to at first, as he is currently raging about adultery and he has a great relationship with his mom. But he was asking about it, so I opted for polite honesty. I told him his mother hurt me just as much, but what she did was just a very poor choice, and that I'm not upset about it anymore, but it took a while. Speaking of my ex-wife, she's had my back through much of this. She's pretty much the reason I started having dinner with them one night during the week and keeping my son longer, because she insists I'll do better to not be constantly alone in that house. A lot of people have suggested that she and I reunite. If I was to ever come to that decision, I would want to wait to be done with some therapy sessions, perhaps couples therapy if she was anywhere in this ballpark. We did briefly discuss our own divorce and the infidelity that led to it. I've moved past it and don't feel defazed by it anymore, but she talks about it like she just got caught. It's not the first time I've done so, but I told her that I forgive her for it. I even added this time that, giving more consideration to how she described the encounter, it's likely she was preyed on by some creep because she had too much to drink. This wasn't a guy she knew very well and had only seen around her place of work a few times, as, if I'm remembering this right, either didn't work in her area or worked at a separate location. In either case, she has literally not seen him since like a few days after it happened. It's a little tough thinking about that too, because even though it doesn't bother me on a regular basis anymore, the fact of the matter is I was really loving my life up until she broke the bad news to me. The STBX kind of smoothed things over for me when that relationship started, but once again, right as I'm feeling my life is great and I'm happy, infidelity messes that up for me. Kind of makes me really unwilling to even consider another relationship if this is what all my time and effort leads to. All that said, I'm taking a trip to Disney World this July to try and wash my mind of all this. Originally it was supposed to be me, the ex-wife, and my son, but I've managed to talk the STBX into allowing my stepdaughter to come along so she won't feel excluded. She'll probably just use the time to bang her next unfortunate soul, but that's not my problem anymore. Update: should be divorced by July and I cannot wait. Hello again everyone, it's about 6 months from my first post on here. If anyone's interested in reading stupidity and naivety. In short, out of the blue one day my wife of 5 years claimed an ex-boyfriend she used to write with suddenly appeared again wanting to know if she could work on an old mutual project together. Well, as you might have guessed, she was having an affair that went back for quite a long time. Their dirty emails to each other disgusted me as they were extremely, almost intentionally hurtful. It wasn't bad enough for her to cheat on me, but he said he wanted her to go home and greet me filled with him, so to speak. I held my it together for the kids for Christmas. She has a daughter and I have a son. I confronted her, threw her out, and went as no contact as I possibly could. Her AP Chris sent me a few messages after the fact claiming that I have no reason to be upset because in his eyes I stole her from him, and he'd been holding this one-sided grudge for the last 5 years and talked as if we had been enemies for quite some time. In short, my STBX's family never approved of him, so she dumped him. She went on to claim they were soulmates and that's why she couldn't turn him away. Well, I've been keeping my health, working out, continuing to work from home, but that'll be over soon. I've kept contact with my stepdaughter through her grandparents and her biological father, whom she also cheated on with this man, though he's cheated on my STBX multiple times. He's an alright guy to have a beer with, and for all his faults he seems like a good dad. I see her twice a week now, never overnight. And even still I've kept her former room empty because it's too depressing to me to consider doing anything else with it. She's been my princess, and she's always excited when she comes to visit or I show up to take her to dinner or for bike rides. After a bit, my son has decided that he thinks he could benefit from therapy and has been seeing a doctor. His mother, my first wife, and I have been keeping a close eye on him as he was pretty close to his stepmother. She's tried to contact him and apologize, but he doesn't want to speak to her. He began getting impulsive and had bouts of angry outbursts unrelated to her, and it was then I asked him if he thought he might do well with therapy. He told me how betrayed he felt by what she'd done, that he hated her, he missed his stepsister, and he wanted everything to just be erased, and I really felt for him. I don't think we've talked heart to heart or hugged one another in our entire lives more than we have in the past few months. His mother has really been at my side through most of this, and we've gotten a lot closer too. At first she was inviting me over for dinner a couple days a week because she thought it was unhealthy for me to spend so much time alone in an empty house. I'm around steadily more now, and many nights a week we eat dinner like a family. My folks and her folks have both taken notice of this and have both been asking us whether or not, seeing as things are getting on so well, if we'd consider reconciling. We said we're both happy with things as they are, but knowing everyone is talking about us make it difficult for us not to talk about it ourselves. Minus the physical affection, we're basically acting really similar toward one another like we did when we were married, which is comforting and warm, but that's soon going to get to a place where it needs a good long talk about. All that's been said thus far is nothing is going to be attempted or even discussed until our son's life has normalized. These changes hurt him. As for my STBX and how things are going on that front, from what I've learned, she's just bought herself a condo and moving on with her life. Her mother and father are deeply ashamed of what she's done, and in their words, my stepdaughter is frequently backtalking her mom. I'd like to report to you all that she's gravely suffering or is a weeping mess, but nope, STBX seems like she's off to go ruin another guy's life. I did, however, cross paths with Chris at a grocery store last month. He turned pale white and I pointed him out to my brother, which I shouldn't have done. He started following him around and shouting variations of F King Prince Charming over here. Fat loser's gonna eat both those Red Barons tonight before he starts texting your wife, guys. I forced us to leave and we'll be shopping elsewhere, though I did get a good laugh out of it. Update, somewhat just digging around on an old laptop and came across this gem of conversation. I've changed the names. But here is basically a cut and paste version of how deceitful these two were. Ex-wife, I'm not sure if I'm being paranoid, but I feel like my husband is growing suspicious. I don't know what I should do. I'm trying to act normal, but I'm really starting to worry. I'm probably just paranoid. He's not tracking my phone or computer or anything. He does try to look over my shoulder or take peeks at my screen though. I don't stop him when he does. 1:20, 1:59 p.m. X. All the times he has peeked we weren't talking about anything worth suspicion. Chris. 1:20, 2:03 p.m. I think the best way to go about this is to not change your routine. If you get any more distant he might catch on, but if you become too friendly same logic applies. If you could do anything I would say perhaps talk about the story like in a complete professional way and exclude me from it when you do. So it will seem more like a business-friendly relationship rather than an old boyfriend. But I don't know him. I've met him that one time. Usually I have the honor of sizing up the other half's mental capacity, but I'm flying blind with this and completely trusting you. I say you remain exactly as you are, no change in routine unless you think the book suggestion works. My ex. 1:20, 2:04 p.m. Okay, that's exactly what I was thinking. Good. He can be a genius or a complete idiot, and he is very reserved, so sometimes his body language is hard to read. But yes, I need to start talking about the book, cause I think Hess wondering why I'm on here all the time with you. I haven't mentioned the book at all. Chris. 1:20, 2:07 p.m. Make an offhand remark. Oh, he's goddamn whining about his boyfriend again. He needs to leave the prick lol. I know he lives in Wisconsin. Stop whining about it lol. My ex. 1:20, 2:07 p.m. No, he thinks you're still married and have a son. And you're one of my old writing friends. That's pretty Mick all I've said about you aside from our fling at the end of her ex-husband's name. Chris. 1:20, 2:10 p.m. Okay, well, if you have to or the subject gets brought up, think of some small romantic cheesy gesture I just did for my wife and I say I look like a sissy for it lol. The best way I'm not a threat is if my family and yours are somewhat relatable. The more domestic I appear the better. My ex. 1:20, 2:14 p.m. Yeah, I agree, but I don't want to start talking about you lots either. I haven't in the past, why should I now? If he asks I'll make up stuff on the fly. Chris. 1:20, 2:14 p.m. Exactly. My ex. 1:20, 2:14 p.m. I think I'll start getting excited about the book now. That way if I seem giddy or stressed I can use that as an excuse. Chris. 1:20, 2:15 p.m. When you do, mention my wife is doing concept art for it and that's one of the reasons it excites you. It is not a stretch, it establishes I am domestic and that she is well aware of my activité, and if she's not worried why should he be? My ex. 1:20, 2:17 p.m. Yeah, I see that. Okay, I can handle this. It's probably all in my own head anyways. Chris. 1:20, 2:19 p.m. Yes, it probably is. If an accusation comes at all, just have something ready like, no, oh my god, he's married and he's retardedly obsessed with his wife. He was telling me all his pet names and I almost signed off lol. My ex. 1:20, 2:19 p.m. Lol, okay. Chris. 1:20, 2:21 p.m. Sorry, I have a lot of ready-made plots. The Smurf? Is usually checking my phone, there's nothing. My ex. 1:20, 2:21 p.m. We're not new at this. Chris. 1:20, 2:22 p.m. Well, it won't be nearly as complicated seeing as any change in your behavior will be only momentary. My ex. 1:20, 2:23 p.m. True, I think I can do this. Chris. 1:20, 2:23 p.m. You'll be fiend, we've done it before. My ex. 1:20, 2:23 p.m. No, I know I can do this. Chris. 1:20, 2:24 p.m. You've got it. My ex. 1:20, 2:24 p.m. In my obsessive-compulsive nature, it is taking like everything in me to not make a list of things to do before our adventure, lol. I usually hide all my flaws, but no, you get to see and hear about all of them, lol, you poor thing. You must think him neurotic. Chris. 1:20, 2:28 p.m. I like seeing this side of you. I don't think you're neurotic, but the paranoia, the planning, your excitement makes me feel good that I can still excite you this much. My ex. 1:20, 2:29 p.m. For your sake, I'll let you take credit for most of that then. I'm paranoid without reason also, but you've most certainly elevated it to a new level. Update, it's been a year since D-Day. There's been kidnapping, assault, and hospitalization since my last post. I have 2 ex-wives. To avoid confusion, I will be referring to my latest ex-wife as ex-wife and my first ex-wife as my son's mother. This week a year ago, I was sitting around trying to process my ex-wife telling me about her ex Chris approaching her with aspirations of writing a book based on their previous work together. It was an obvious front to further their ongoing affair, and I was so stupid not to see it. Anyhow, I confronted her and threw her out, and she went to live with her parents, taking her stepdaughter with her. I maintained contact with my stepdaughter for quite some time and still do make time for her, but she's had it worse than anyone. I guess I'll give an update to that first. My stepdaughter was essentially kidnapped by her biological father some time after my last update. I've said it before, but her father is not from my country and has citizenship from the country he came from. Every couple of years he would take his daughter to his country to see his family, but this time he refused to send her back home. His given reason was that our mutual ex-wife was poisoned and he wanted his daughter away from her. In the end, he shot himself in the foot on that front because 2 months later he caved to pressure from his own family and sent her back, and is not returning because he'll most likely be arrested if he returns to the States, so he removed himself as a good influence in her life and left her in the hands of someone we both consider poison. Things did not get better from there on my ex's side of things. Shortly after the divorce was finalized, but before her ex-husband ran off with a child, she had begun dating a new man. I was unaware of this until my former in-laws contacted me to say that she'd been hospitalized. She and Chris, her affair partner, had as many guests, began sleeping together again, and from what former Mill told me, she broke it off with him again to pursue a new man. Chris took her to a Motel 6 where he sprung it on her that he was sick of being treated how he was treated. When she tried to walk back to her car, he snapped, picked her up over his head and slammed her down on the concrete parking lot. He attacked and drove off a good Samaritan before stomping on one of her hands and then choking her so hard she had dark purple bruises and a fractured vertebrae in her neck. Thankfully he's behind bars now and is facing a slew of assault charges and perhaps even attempted murder, but I've not followed up on the legal aspects of any of it. She is in physical therapy and in recovery, as she was also concussed in the assault and is pretty hazy a lot of the time. No matter what she did to me, seeing her in this condition breaks my heart. My stepdaughter spends a lot of time with me these days as I am trying to do what I can to help the situation. She is understandably not in the best spirits, but spending time with my son's mother, and I at least gives her a solid place to stand. That just leaves my first wife, my son's mother. A lot of people have expressed a desire to see us reconcile, and in many ways we have. Neither of us is pushing the other back into a relationship, but we have discussed our past, the infidelity that separated us, and the fact that she has been forgiven by me. We aren't officially back together, but it isn't uncommon for us to spend the night at each other's place, and as we speak it's been 5 days since we've slept in different houses. We sleep separately, as I'm sure this all confuses my son, but we've been intimate regularly for over a month now. It's going nice and easy. Nobody is pushing for anything more than what we have, and for the moment it's working out. I could go on for many more paragraphs, but I think I'll wrap up this update and answer questions as they come. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, as I predicted exactly, comment made on your previous thread, that your ex-wife keeps Chris around like a pet. He is also a victim to your poison of an ex-wife. Only this time the pet became unruly and attacked his abusive owner. Op answer. He didn't look like the kind to be body slamming people in parking lots. He did what he did, But my ex is determined to ruin lives. Redditor 2, honestly dude, do what works for you. The folks on Reddit and say what they want, honestly do what works for you. You seem to be getting along with your son's mother and go with the flow, riding the wave. Go ahead and do that works for you. Redditor 3, I don't get it, you left a cheater to be with another cheater. Seriously, man? Billions of women out there, and it feels like you are wasting your time again. Redditor follow up, if I recall correctly, his son's mother had a one-night stand while drunk, took full responsibility, made no excuses, remained good friends with him. Unlike his ex-wife, the serial cheater. Now it is legitimate to state that they are both cheaters, but his son's mother really worked on herself afterwards. I could be wrong about that, but I seem to recall that.